Dr. Yagesh, Multani ji, Pawan Sagar Jain ji, Mr. Kamal Vardhan Rao, Mr. Subhash Panda, Mr. Neeraj Kumar, Mr. Rajan Sehgal, Mr. Manghani, Mr. Kapoor, Mr. Sood, esteemed listeners and viewers, ladies and gentlemen, I am extremely delighted to be a part of today's webinar that focuses on yet another singular, exceptional, and unique border district of India, Lahaul and Spiti. And I must say that located in an equally extraordinary and phenomenal state, the land of gods, that is Himachal Pradesh. Friends, before I proceed on the subject of the webinar, I would like to take this opportunity to congratulate once again PhD Tourism Leadership, the committee, once again, for convening these webinars so effectively, so professionally and successfully. I'm making this remark because I have been quite regularly participating and watching these border tourism series webinar since they began some months ago. Ladies and gentlemen, the significance of border tourism does not need much elaboration. However, even for the sake of repetition, I would like to say that border tourism provides to the traveler the experience of border areas and regions of India, which to my mind are generally inaccessible, remote, adventurous, and unique. It's an opportunity to view the historical international boundaries as well, and most of China along the border, which even led to the visit of the Honorable Chief Minister of Himachal Pradesh to Kinnauр border. On Indian side, you will find that Indo-Tibetan Border Police Force, the ITBP, the border guarding force at India-China border, is setting up more border outposts along the line of actual control. Now, ladies and gentlemen, while the border area of Lahaul, Spiti and Kinnauр have become more prominently known by these recent happenings, of course, not for good reasons. So visit to Lahaul and Spiti itself, in fact, is a treat for tourists as well. Friends, we've already seen and heard how beautiful, exciting, and adventurous is Lahaul Spiti region. I do not wish to go into the details of various attractions of these destinations because, as I can see from the program, there is a lot of presentation on this district, and the collector and district magistrate of Lahaul Spiti is also there. So that rather we'll learn more from him. But I cannot resist talking about some of the uncommon, unusual, and peculiar attractions of this region, which I located, while I'm preparing for the webinar. First is Lahaul Spiti happens to be the least densely populated district of India. Can you imagine that there are only 31,000 people living in such a big district as per 2011 census? In fact, the population growth in the decade of 2001 to 2011 has been in the minus. It's been minus 5%. Now, this is something unique. When you talk about a destination, you would be really amazed to see that only 35. The density wise, you have, as per the estimate, 2 persons per square kilometer. Now, you won't find this anywhere in any part of the country. Secondly, Spiti especially is all barren and difficult to cross, and it is located at a very high average altitude of more than 14,000 feet. Now, this is something, the whole district is located at such an altitude, and that is also when it is inhabited very well. This is something very unique and peculiar. In fact, even with such small populations, another very unique feature about Lahaul Spiti district is that it is multilingual. I could see that people in this area, just about 32,000 people, imagine, they speak Kandauri, some of them speak Patani, then there is a language called Bhotia, then Hindi, Nepali, Tibetan. Now, 6 languages spoken by 32,000 people. Look at the diversity. Surprisingly, this is also true about religion. In fact, the people follow all the religions that are found in India. You have the majority following Buddhism, then you have Hinduism, people from Christianity, Islam, Sikhism, and Jainism. Now, again, the same point. 32,000 people, and you have a secular character of the district having all people from all religions. In fact, Spiti is a very important center for Buddhism in Himachal Pradesh and is generally, as is called, as land of lamas, with many monasteries and gopas, including the famous Kai monastery. I won't go into the detail because maybe we'll have a better presentation. And nextly, ladies and gentlemen, the unique feature about Lahaul Spiti region is that it can be a dream destination for mountaineers, for high altitude trekkers, for yak safaris, for skiing. And finally, if you want to see the snow leopards in real, not in virtual, I would say, Lahaul Spiti and Pin Valley National Park, I believe, is the right place. So with all these listed USPs, friends, Lahaul and Spiti must be promoted in addition to promotion on border tourism. And for what? Number one, for Buddhist tourism. In fact, I would say that Himachal Pradesh as a whole is blessed with Buddhist sites, Buddhist monasteries. It can certainly be developed as a Buddhist circuit of the north. In fact, I was watching the website of Lahaul, Spiti, and Himachal Pradesh. They've already formed a Buddhist circuit. In fact, when I was Secretary Tourism, Buddhist circuit was pan-India. In fact, we used to concentrate, in fact, 7 or 8 places around Bihar and UP were identified because they were the main places where Buddha trail could be found. But look at this north area, right from Chandigarh up to Himachal Pradesh or even Ladakh, if you go, you will find so many options and so many areas, so many destinations, which can be a great attraction for Buddhists and even for non-Buddhists, I must say. And of course, just to count a few, MacLeod is one, Dharamshala, MacLeod, Mandi is another area where it can be linked with the Buddhist circuit. And of course, Lahaul and Spiti are naturally the Buddhist sites. The second thing which I thought that Lahaul, Spiti in particular could be promoted, and we have Mr. Neeraj, the district magistrate, I would especially mention this point for you, that you have another unique feature that you're 100% rural. There's no urban area. And there are many villages which are actually the tourist destinations. Normally you have destinations in the urban areas. Now, rural tourism is something which I think needs to be developed. You must be doing a lot of job. I'm not denying that. But this is something which I would like to flag, that with 100% rural area, and there are villages, I could see some very well-known villages which have potential of tourism like Gondla and Koksar. Even the last village which I mentioned, Losar, I believe it's a very beautiful area which borders China. The next promotion material or promotion point that Lahaul Spiti has, of course, is adventure tourism. And I must say that you name one thing which an adventure lover would like to do and he cannot do in Himachal Pradesh as a whole, and in fact, including Lahaul and Spiti. You can do mountaineering, you can do ice skating, skiing and mountain cycling, river rafting, paragliding, camping. So rock climbing, I mean, this is something which is very common and could be developed further in times to come. So ladies and gentlemen, my final point is that with so much good is being spoken about these incredible destinations, whether Lahaul Spiti or other parts of Himachal Pradesh, how do we take forward border tourism in Lahaul Spiti and holistic tourism in the state of Himachal Pradesh? I wish to flag certain issues for consideration of stakeholders, both from the government, state government, and of course the private sector speakers that we have today. Firstly, the connectivity. In fact, Himachal being a mountainous state has to depend on good roads and last mile road connectivity, of course, to the tourism destinations. Therefore, good roads and tourist-friendly infrastructure, both on the national and state highway, is a necessity without which tourism cannot flourish in this state. Secondly, again, due to the same reason, the snowy and mountainous state, natural events, whether they are disasters or otherwise, they hinder the movement of traffic and tourists on road. So whether due to landslides or floods, glaciers, closure of passes, the access to Himachal has to be strengthened in times to come, more with air connectivity and particularly with the heliport connectivity. In fact, I was reading, and it's a matter of happiness, that Ministry of Civil Aviation, the Honorable Minister of Civil Aviation, Government of India, has announced that there are 4 heliports in Himachal Pradesh, at Sanjoli, at Sase near Manali, in Mandi and Baddi. They are going to be operationalized very soon. Now imagine, out of 6 heliports, ministry has given 4 heliports to Himachal Pradesh. That speaks volumes about the scope and the requirement of connecting Himachal Pradesh through the helicopters and through heli connectivity. In fact, I was also reading that in the light of what is happening at the border of Indochina, it was also in the news that 2 airstrips have been sanctioned in Lahaul Spiti. Although for security and strategic reasons, however, the same airstrips, ladies and gentlemen, in peacetime, they could always be used for traveling and tourism. My third suggestion is the same which I generally flag in every such webinars, which is building tourism infrastructure for strengthening of border tourism. And I will call upon the officials of the State Tourism Department who are present here, the Principal Secretary is also here, and of course, Mr. Rao from Ministry of Tourism, that we need to prepare a separate scheme of developing tourism infrastructure, picking up the border districts, which have been recently identified by Ministry and the PhD chamber in this particular series. Alternatively, some separate notional allocation within Swadesh Darshan and within Prashad scheme or any other scheme could also be made for developing the infrastructure in the border tourism. Otherwise, merely promoting through webinars and giving in the media will not help, because the tourists have to have good experience when they reach the border regions. Ladies and gentlemen, Himalayan states of our country have always been given higher priority as per the policy of Tourism Ministry. Therefore, I call upon the Tourism Department of the state to prepare more projects under the Swadesh Pradarshan, Prashad, and they must already be doing it. And there's another very good scheme of viability gap funding for infrastructure of tourism, which is actually run by the Ministry of Finance, but the Ministry of Tourism and Finance, they work together to finance viability gap funding scheme, which is a very unique and very good scheme, but nobody is either aware of it or maybe they are not stepping into this direction. Even golf courses can be made under viability gap funding and other infrastructure as well. So basically, Himalayan states have a better edge compared to other states of the land to push their cases with the ministry for getting as much resources as possible for building infrastructure. In fact, I must say in the same breath that your state is lucky that you have a chief minister who is very passionate about developing tourism in the state. I had the privilege of meeting and discussing tourism development in the state with your present Honorable Chief Minister at his residence in Shimla some two and a half years ago. And I remember he spent more than 2 hours in watching the presentations and the projects for various destinations in Himachal Pradesh, which were brought to him during the discussions. So ladies and gentlemen, I stop here. And before I end, my thanks and gratitude to the PhD CCI leadership, the Tourism Committee once again, for extending me this invitation to share my thoughts. And of course, my thanks to all participants, to all listeners and viewers for giving me a patient hearing. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much, sir, for your wonderful remarks. And it is so inspiring, when you start speaking. And I'm trying to jot down some of the points. I don't know, still I have missed a number of things. And it is so educating also, Joshi Saab. And this I am speaking from the bottom of my heart, not to boast, but really you are an encyclopedia institution as far as tourism is concerned. And I would love to see the presentation, sir, and learn from you, which you have had 2.5 years back when you had with the CM. Ladies and gentlemen, this was Mr. Vinod Zutshi, former Secretary, Ministry of Tourism, Government of India. I must share, sir has already been working, that was the last assignment, I should say, in the government as secretary, but he has been the election commissioner. He is from the Rajasthan Cadre and held various positions. So a lot of experience and exposure, sir. Thank you so much.